right. I think we're 1 minute early. Daniel, you ready to go too? Almost. Of course it's giving you an error. This is important stuff. Satan doesn't want to let it out. Well, the Lord will bind him. We don't bind him. Trust me on that one. Okay. Bim bam, bim 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 bam, bim 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 bam, bim bam. Bim bam, bim 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 bam, bim 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 bam, bim bam. Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat shalom. Dear Lord, thank you so very much for allowing us to join you at this time and at this place to commune with you. Lord, thank you for this free country where we can come and do this. Keep it free a bit longer, please. Lord, we thank you for these precious souls who have arrived, and we ask you to watch over those who are yet to arrive. Keep them safe. Lord, allow our time with you to rise as the Olah, so that it might be a pleasing odor before you and before your throne. We thank you, Lord, for all you have done and all you continue to do in your name. Amen. We begin, as we always do, with the lighting of the Shabbos candles. I've asked the prettiest lady in the shul to come do that, because she says she has not lit them for a while.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat. Amen.
The next part of our liturgy is one of my favorite pieces. It's called Shalom Aleichem. And it's not only appropriate to say Shalom Aleichem to you, as you have come to this place to join together in worship of our Lord, but we also say Shalom Aleichem to the ministering angels who will join us tonight. If you know, join with me. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlochim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boahem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi melech malchei hamlochim hakodosh baruch hu. Baruch Nila Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mihi Melech, Malachei Hamlochim, HaKodosh Baruch Hu. Tzedachem l'shalom, malachei hashalom, malachei elyon. Mi melech malachei hamlochim, hakodosh baruch hu. And Yeshua said, if anyone loves me, he will keep my word. And my Father will love him, and we will come to him and make our abode with him. And that is particularly poignant during this season of Sukkot, right? Because we invite Ushpizin to come to be our guests in our Sukkot. And what a better guest than him. He who does not love me does not keep my words, and the word which you hear is not mine, but the Father's who sent me. These things I have spoken to you while being present with you. But the Helper, the Holy Spirit, whom the Father shall send in my name, he will teach you all things and bring to remembrance all things that I have said to you. Peace I leave you. My peace I give to you. Not as the world gives do I give you. Let not your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid. Before we move on from that, I want you to contemplate something here. My peace I give to you, not like the world gives peace. When those words were spoken, in a scant few years, the temple would be destroyed and our people scattered. He wasn't lying. His peace is not world types of peace. Let not your heart be troubled when you see the craziness of this world, and neither let it be afraid, because Yeshua says, it's okay. I got this. Amen. And now, another fun part, the parental blessing. So, if the youngsters wish to come forward and bring a taller person with them, that would be cool, and we can offer them a blessing. The blessings are these. May the Lord make you like Ephraim and Manasseh. That's for the young men. May the Lord make you like Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah. That's for the daughters. And then we finish with another blessing. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift his countenance upon you and give you peace. And we're going to ask these blessings in the name of Yeshua the Messiah, the Prince of Peace. Receive the blessings. Yisem Elohim, ki Ephraim v'ki Menashe. Yisem Elohim, ki Sarivka Rachel v'Leah. Yivarechucho Adonai, v'yishmareho. Yehoir Adonai panav elecho, v'huneho. Yiso Adonai panav elecho, v'yasem leho shalom. B'shem Yeshua Yeshikenu, Sar HaShalom, in the name of Yeshua, the Prince of Peace. And all God's children would respond, Amen. Let me get my Bible. Because I get to do the Ashes Hayil tonight. It's found in Proverbs 31, actually, beginning at verse 10. And if you would look at it in the Hebrew Bible, if you want to try and find it in that particular Bible, you will discover that each of the verses beginning at verse 10 begin with a separate letter of the Hebrew alphabet. In fact, 10 is Aleph, 11 is Bet, 12 Gimel, 13 Dalet, all the way through. So when you get to 31, you've used up all the letters of the alphabet, right? Pretty cool stuff. Hidden in the English, kind of neat in the Hebrew. And I will say this for my precious Pam, the lighter of our Shabbos candles. An excellent wife I have found. You see, Pam's worth is far above jewels, and my heart trusts safely in her. Safely. That's the key word in that sentence. And I have no lack of gain. She does me good, not evil, all the days of her life. She looks for wool and flax and works with her hands in delight. She's like a merchant ship. She brings food from afar. She rises while it is still night and gives food to the whole household and portions for the maidens. And while she's at it, she has a quiet time with the Lord. She considers a camping spot and rents it for the entire week of Sukkot. And from her earnings, she has paid the price. She girds herself with strength and makes her arms strong, lugging all that firewood to our campfire. She senses that her gain is good, and her lamp does not go out at night. Pam stretches out her hands to the distaff, and her hands grasp the spindle. She extends her hands to the poor. She does that so readily and so often. She stretches out her hands to the needy. She's not afraid of the snow for our household because we're all clothed in scarlet and nice jackets. She even makes coverings for herself. Pam's clothing is white tonight. And because of Pam, I am known in the gates when I sit among the elders of the land. Pam makes linen garments and sells them, supplies belts to the tradesmen. Strength and dignity are her clothing, and she smiles at the future. Pam opens her mouth in wisdom, and the teaching of kindness is on her tongue, and I do well to listen. Pam looks very well to the ways of our household, does not eat the bread of idleness. Her children rise up and bless her, and I do as well, saying, "It has been such an amazing joy to be camping out at Cherry Creek State Park and erecting our sukkahs together and having lights and fun, campfires, communion with God. What a joy. Thank you. Thank you for making that happen. A crazy blessing. Charm, you see, is deceitful and beauty is vain, but Pam loves the Lord. And because of that, I give her praise. And I will give her the product of her hands and her works. Praise her not only in the gates, but all through our family. And those who know Pam would agree with me and say, Amen. And if you would now stand, and Jared, if you would come forward, we are going to pronounce the watchword of the faith. First in the English, as soon as he opens the ark. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Blessed be the name of his glorious majesty forever and ever. Great is our Lord, holy is his name. Declare the greatness of the Lord with me, and let's exalt his name together. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuso Leolam Vaed. Yeshua HaMoshiach Hu Adonai. Yeshua the Messiah, you are Lord. Well done, well done. Thank you, and you may be seated. One of the other pieces of liturgy we do on this holy day is Ritzevim Nuchatenu. And what we're asking God to accept this sacrifice that we're making right now. And you may have said, I didn't bring a sacrifice. Yeah, you did. What you brought was yourself. And what you're doing with yourself right now is what he wants. He says, separate from the world. Stop the busyness of the week. Put it behind you. Let's come sit together. We give him our rest. And we're going to ask him to accept that gift. Because God showed us how to rest. After creation, he rested. He wasn't tired, but he rested. He showed us. So if you know, please join with me. Eloheinu v'Elohevotenu ritzevim nuchatenu kadshenu b'mitzvotecha v'chein kelchenu b'toratecha savienu mituvecha v'samchenu b'Yeshuaseho v'taher livenu, v'taher livenu, v'taher livenu, lahavdacha be'emet. V'chanch Eloheinu Adonai Eloheinu, b'avav ratzon, Shabbat kodeshecha, v'yanucha v'Yisrael, mekodeshe shemecha, Baruch ato Adonai, mikadesh HaShabbat. Our God and God of our fathers, accept our rest. Sanctify us through your commandments and grant our portion in your Torah. Give us abundantly of your goodness and make us rejoice in Yeshua. O Lord our God, grant that your holy Shabbos be our joyous heritage, and may the Messianic community who sanctifies your name rest thereon. Blessed are you, O Lord, who hallows the Shabbos. If you would, stand for Kiddush, please. Yeshua said, I am the true vine, and my Father is the vine dresser. Every branch in me that does not bear fruit, he lifts it up. Every branch that bears fruit, he prunes, that it may bear more fruit. You are already clean because of the word which I have spoken to you. Abide in me, and I in you, as the branch cannot bear fruit of itself unless it abides in the vine. Neither can you, unless you abide in me. I am the vine. You are the branches. He who abides in me and I in him bears much fruit. For without me you can do nothing. If you would read along in the English as I chant in the Hebrew, please. Vayahi Erev, vayahi boker yom hashishi, v'yachulo hashemayim, v'haaretz v'kol etzavam, v'yakol Elohim, v'yom hashavi, malakto asher oso, v'shavat b'yom hashavi, mekol malakto asher oso, v'yaborek Elohim et yom hashavi, mekodesh oso. Ki bo Shabbat makom melakto asher boro Elohim la'asot. Baruch ato Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam borei pri hagofen Amen. Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam, asher kedeshana b'mitzvotav, v'retzahavanu, v'shabbat kadesho, v'yahav ratzon hiltilanu, zikaron lema'aseh b'reishi, ki hu yom tehilo lemekroi kodesh, zeher lehetzias, Mitzroyim, Kivanu v'acharto v'yotanu kidashto mikol hamim u'shabbat kadsha v'yahavav ratzon inechaltanu Baruch Adonai Mikadesh HaShabbat. Amen. Blessed are you, O Lord our God, ruler of the universe, creator of the fruit of the vine. Blessed are you, O Lord our God, ruler of the universe, who sanctified us by thy commandments and has taken pleasure in us. In love and favor you have caused us to inherit the holy Shabbat in remembrance of the creation, a day which is the beginning of our holy gatherings and is a memorial of our departure from Mitzrayim. For you have chosen us from among all peoples, and in love and favor you have caused us to inherit the Shabbat for rest and refreshing. Blessed are you, O Lord, who hallows the Shabbat. Our fathers did eat manna in the desert, as it is written, He gave them bread from heaven to eat. Then Yeshua said unto them, Verily, verily, I say to you, Moshe gave you not that bread from heaven, for the bread of God is he who comes down from heaven and gives life to the world. Then they said to him, Lord, evermore give us this bread. Yeshua said to them, Anochi chulechem achayim, I am the bread of life. Kolebai elai lo irav, ve'asher yamam vi lo itzma'od. He that comes to me shall never hunger, and he that believes on me shall never thirst. Amotzi lechem min ha'oretz. We give thanks to God for bread. Our voices rise in song together, as our joyful prayer is said. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech ha'olam, hamotzi lechem min ha'oretz. Amen. Blessed are you, O Lord our God, ruler of the universe, who brings bread out of the earth and has given us the bread of life in our Messiah, Yeshua. And all would agree, Amen. Where's Craig? Our official leader of communion. There's Craig. You know, timing is perfect. Wow.
Concerning the Lord's table, you are partaking in, Paul writes in two of his epistles. He says, "For he himself is our peace, who is made both one, and has broken down the middle wall of separation, having abolished in his flesh the enmity, that is the law of commandments contained in ordinances, so as to create in himself one new man from the two, thus making peace, and that he might reconcile them both to God in one body through the cross, thereby putting to death the enmity. And he came and preached peace to you who were afar off, and to those who were near. For through him we both have access by one Spirit to the Father. Now therefore you are no longer strangers and foreigners, but fellow citizens with the saints and members of the household of God, having been built upon the foundation of the apostles and prophets, Messiah Yeshua himself being the chief cornerstone, in whom the whole building, being fitted together, grows into a holy temple in the Lord, in whom you also are being built together for a dwelling place of God in the Spirit. I therefore, the prisoner of the Lord, beseech you to walk worthy of the calling with which you were called, with all lowliness and gentleness, with long suffering, bearing with one another in love, endeavoring to keep the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace. There is one body and one Spirit, just as you were called in one hope of your calling. One Lord, one faith, one immersion, one God and Father of all, who is above all and through all and in you all. Therefore, whoever eats this bread or drinks this cup of the Lord in an unworthy manner will be guilty of the body and blood of the Lord. But let a man examine himself, and so let him eat of the bread and drink of the cup. For he who eats and drinks in an unworthy manner eats and drinks judgment to himself, not discerning the Lord's body. For this reason, many are weak and sick among you, and many sleep. For if we would judge ourselves, we would not be judged. But when we are judged, we are chastened by the Lord, that we may not be condemned with the world." Grape juice. Thank you. Yeshua began his ministry with what we refer to as the Sermon on the Mount. And in that sermon, he gave examples of how we should live our life. One of the examples that he gave was with regard to how we treat one another. And in that example, he said that if someone has come from a long way to bring their gift and put it on the altar and make reconciliation back to God through a sacrificial animal, in spite of the fact he may have come from a long distance, waited in line to put his animal on that altar, when it's his turn, he lays it on there, and the priest is just at the moment to kill it. At that moment, the person realizes that there's something that he doesn't have right with between a brother or sister. Yeshua said God's not going to accept that offering until you first leave it there, go your way, make reconciliation with the person that you have some conflict with, then come and offer that gift. As important as it was in the first century to make reconciliation back to God through the sacrificial system, Yeshua said God won't accept it if there's something that you have in your heart against a brother or sister. Paul, that I just read from, said that if we don't discern the Lord's body in what we're doing, we're drinking judgment to ourselves, not discerning his body, not realizing the unity that we should have one to another. And as Yeshua gave that sermon, instructing us to make reconciliation one to another before we go to God, I believe he lived that example with his life when he hung on the cross. He, bringing his gift, left it there on the altar, on the cross. And those that had put him on the cross through their words, the scribes and the Pharisees, it was their words that put him there. The Roman soldiers literally, physically put him on the cross. The people that came in through Jerusalem could see him there hanging on the road. They mocked him, railed insults at him. In fact, you and I, and everyone throughout history, put Yeshua on that cross. He left his gift there on the altar for 6 hours. At the end of that 6 hours, he could say, Father, forgive them, for they don't know what they're doing. He led by example. And he's asked us to do the same thing. We have here the elements that represent his body and his blood that was given freely for us. If you notice this piece of matzah, if you hold it up to the light, you can see it's got little holes in it. It's pierced to keep it from burning. It's cooked on a grill. As it is, it creates stripes on it. As it heats up, it starts to discolor the bread and it starts to look like bruising. It is broken and freely given. It reminds us of the words of Isaiah. By his stripes we are healed. And he asked us to do this in remembrance of him for what he has done for us in making reconciliation back to God. Let us be mindful of that as we recite the blessing over the bread together. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Blessed art thou, O Lord our God, who brings forth bread from out of the earth. Let us partake together. And the fruit of the vine is red in color to remind us of the precious shed blood of our Messiah, Yeshua, that cleanses us from all unrighteousness. Let us be mindful of that as we say the blessing over the fruit of the vine together. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei pri hagafen. Amen. Blessed art thou, O Lord our God, creator of the fruit of the vine. Let us partake together. And it was in that spirit of unity that the psalmist wrote, Behold how good and pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. Please join with me. Hine matovu manahim, la 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 la. Hine matovu manahim, la 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 la. Hine matovu manahim, shever achim gam yachad. Hine matovu manahim, shever achim gam yachad. Hine matovu manahim, la 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 la. Hine matovu manahim, la 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 la. Hine matovu manahim, shever achim gam yachad. Hine matovu manahim, shever achim gam yachad. Hine matovu manahim, shevet achim gam yachad. Turn to your neighbor and give them a hug and a hearty Shabbat Shalom.
Hey, I'm sticking my tape up in the back.
All right, now what I'm going to ask you to do is to put a comma in your fellowship and continue it in the oneg. Do we have any first-time visitors with us tonight? I don't know if Oh, right over here. Take that little piece of paper and fill it out, drop it in the little boxes in the back, and what will happen is that you'll be on our mailing list, and we'll get you information on all the special events we have. If you have any questions about what goes on here or anything, just ask me. I don't necessarily have all the answers, but I'll make up something if I have to, yeah. So, for those of you who are regular visitors, we have offering boxes in the back. Because they're sitting on nice tall pedestals, it's hard to pass them down the row, so if you just go by them and put your offering in, that'd be wonderful. There's a tzedakah box back there on the side of the sound booth. That is for special offerings. If you have a little bit extra and you want to help the poor among us, please put a little something in there. We administer a fund for people in need in this congregation. If you feel like you need something in that vein, some little special help, please fill out one of those pieces of paper that Daniel's holding and put it inside that box. We will present it to the people who do that. There is a prayer request box on the side of the sound booth back there, and it has some forms on it as well. If you have a prayer request, please fill that out, drop it in there. We will handle it according to your instructions that are on that form. If you'd like prayer pretty more urgently and maybe a little bit more personally, I will be up at the front of the congregation here after praise and worship, and I can spend some time in prayer with you while everybody else goes to the oneg and gains weight. If you have any questions about what's going on here, you can ask myself, or you can ask Burt, or you can ask Craig. We'll all give you a good answer, but just only ask one of us, because if you ask two, you get two different answers. The young adult Havara is going to meet tomorrow at 4:00 p.m. in the community room, which is right through those double doors. Make a right, and then on till morning. Shmini Atzeret service will be here this coming Monday. That's 2 days from now. Well, it's going to be in the morning. October 21st, 8:30 a.m. in the community room. Then we will have a multi-congregational Simchat Torah celebration. Again, same day, same Monday, but it's going to be here. It will begin in the oneg with a potluck at 5:30. Please bring kosher foods, followed by Simchat Torah service right here, 7:00 p.m. You will not want to miss that. That's about as much joy as this congregation can express in one spot. There will be dancing. Yes, those of you who come from a Baptist background, dancing with the Torah, which is the way we always have done it. Jonathan Sattel. Man, what a blessed voice that man has. If you've not heard him sing, please do be here and hear him. And if you have heard him, you know what I'm talking about. October 25th and 26th, both the Friday night and the Saturday morning service. Do not miss that. Lifeline screening, that's sort of a medical screening procedure, is going to be they're setting up here at ROA on November 7th, 9:00 a.m. till 5:00 p.m. Flyers are in the back, explain the screening procedures, and also, because we are hosting that, we get a discount. you may want to sign up for that. So there's a sign-up sheet in the back for that. Gail, I think you have an announcement as well.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Ladies, this is a reminder for you. Our ladies' Bible study starts in 1 week, next Saturday, the 26th, at 1 p.m. And there's a little thing in the bulletin. You can call me if you want information on it. There's also a sign-up sheet back by the prayer request box and the tzedakah box that you can sign up for the study in. It will meet the second and fourth Saturday of the month, the same day that the men's Bible study meets, Saturday afternoon at 1 p.m. I hope to see you then. Have a good Shabbat.
Thank you. There'd be some Bible studying happening here. Do you want this pad or no? No. Let me kick it out of the way. All right, my brother. We pray you up. Dear Lord, I want to thank you for this place, this time, this opportunity to fall into your arms. But I'd like to ask a favor. Lord, would you heal Burt? Would you give him strength, give him perfect healing? You're going to be in the area anyway. Won't be work for you. Just, if you don't mind, get her done. Because we sure like to see him minister without pain. Lord, we thank you, though, for all you have done and all you will do. In your holy name, amen.
Amen.
Be blessed, brother. And give him heaven.
Well, I am sorry. I know more than a little bit embarrassed about this. It occurs to me that some days man is stronger on some days than other days. But in my mind, the words, "In my weakness he is made strong," and in my soul, that is the faith that I have for tonight. Title of this message is Torah, Tree of Life. The Torah is, and the New Covenant portion would be 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verses 39 through 49. Torah in Scripture is described as Eitz Chaim, a tree of life. In this rendering, if we look at it in reverse order, coveting is the root from which all aberrant behavior stems and flows. Coveting was the first sin, enticing Satan to leave God in an effort to become God. Man was beguiled by that same temptation, that same desire. Eat this and be like God, coveting. It's a decision that he and all humanity since has regretted. The trunk of the tree would be the mundane instructions guiding the treatment of the physical creation, others of our species, animals, the earth itself. These mundane instructions support, or perhaps better reflect, those commandments that govern the behavior of the soul in our relationship with God. The leaves break out of those shadows and are exposed to the light, and the light of God is absorbed by those leaves, which make food, which in turn nourishes those who walk with God. This is what Yeshua draws upon when his disciples are telling him to eat, and he says, "I have food that you don't know about." He was being fed from someplace else. The fourth commandment to remember the Shabbat is a transition. Shabbat is rest and peace. And it is a transition from the realm of the mundane to the realm of the soul. It is a time and space that transforms all who enter into that time of rest and peace, and it allows them to touch eternity. Rest and peace are two essential conditions that are necessary in order to hear God. We have to enter into the quiet. We have to enter into rest and peace. As I pondered this during the week, I wrote these words. I sipped the waters of eternity in the early light and saw things that never were, yet always have been. The rendering of Torah as a tree finds its greatest expression in the tropical rainforests. While the roots and the trunk exist in dimly lit shadows, the canopies of those lush landscapes bask in the light of the sun. The canopy of the tropical rainforest has its own ecosystem, which is vastly different from that which exists below, completely different. The dust of the earth, which floats on currents of air, accumulate in this thick web of leaves and branches. They are watered by the early rains and the late rains, the various monsoons that flow through, and they become fertile fields which provide a place for the seeds of flowering plants that also are carried on these currents of air to sprout and grow. In point of fact, we have extracted many of our medicines that we have today from the flowering canopies of these tropical rainforests. And those were given by God for the healing of the nations, the various peoples of those nations. The analogy is really quite accurate. As I look back over the course of my life, I have gained some perspective. My entire life has been a quest to ascend through the tangled shroud of shadows and break through into the light. That is all I ever wanted to do. The streams of iridescence that filtered down through this canopy called to my soul from my early moments of consciousness. It bore a witness to a realm that exists beyond what I can see, but a realm which I knew was real. That's where the word realm comes from. It comes from the word real. And I knew, even though I couldn't see this realm, I knew it was real. Something in my soul bore a witness. I knew it was a realm of light, of peace, a place where I intuitively knew I would find rest. That realm called muster on my soul. I have rarely felt content any place I've ever lived. I was always, no matter where it was, I would looking forward to the time I would get to leave that place and move on, looking for an entrance to the place I always wanted to be. Wasn't sure where it was, but I knew where it wasn't. Where I was not it. Teton Valley, Idaho, was the only place I have ever called home in this physical realm. And having been up there rather recently, the Idaho of my youth is, it's gone. Changed completely. It exists now only in the real and the contrived memories of that place most glorious. In Idaho, my constant dream became a reality. One day when I had packed up, I was going to climb the Grand Teton. And when I broke tree line, I stood before this boulder field that led to the base of that immense jagged rock. And the relatively genteel beauty of the path that led through the trees and the streams paled when I stood before that peak with its top reaching up into the clouds and through the clouds and into the heavens itself. It was extraordinary. I made base camp and knew that much of what I packed had to remain at the base. Is useful only down below. It would become a burden, an unnecessary weight that would hinder my ascent to the top of this peak that literally reached up into the heavens. My earthly journeys through wilderness, which have been really extensive, has taught me many lessons that have proved useless, that have proved useful on my spiritual journey, my spiritual ascent. I learned early on, creature comforts are a burden. They weigh some. And so if you want them with you, you got to carry them. Yeah. And their blessing diminishes in direct proportion to their weight. It is better to learn to live without them than to schlep them along on the journey. It was a lesson I learned in the first week. Boy, that pack lightened up. The first week of a 3,000-mile journey, I left a lot of stuff in various garbage cans along the way. But there was a more essential lesson that awaited me to come along and to learn. As a young man, I was in continual turmoil. I was always fighting, and I'm not talking about with my fists so much. There was that. But every aspect of my life was a fight. Constant. From the time I woke up to the time I went to bed. It was the very nature of my existence and why so many of us back in the late 50s and early 60s and late 60s were so focused on peace because there was none to be had. Not in New York City. Growing up in New York City was a continual battle. You had to fight to get on the subways. You had to fight to avoid the troglodytes that lived in the filthy and foul-smelling nether regions. And if you were in a vehicle, you had to fight thousands of cars to get off at the right exit from the left lane. I don't know why I was always in the left lane. I went to live in the mountain to escape this continual conflict, this continual battle that I was in, to find peace, to live deliberately, as the existential philosopher David Thoreau spoke about. I love the way he put that, to live deliberately, that every day you would have to accumulate what you had need of to exist that day. What I learned during my time in the wilderness was a simple but essential fact. You can't fight against the mountain. You must learn to live with the mountain. No matter your resolve, if you fight, you will be dashed against the rocks. You're going to lose. The mountain was there long before you, and the mountain will be there long after you. You can't fight it. The mountain has everything that you need in order to survive. You just have to figure out where it is and how to extract it. The mountain has a Torah. It has a set of instructions which must be studied and implemented if you're going to survive. That lesson has served me well, whether I have wandered through mountains, deserts, or plains. The freedom to wander comes with rules that must be followed, or you will not wander long. If you don't learn those rules, there's stuff out there that will injure you or kill you. In similar fashion, my quest to behold the face of God is accompanied by a set of rules that govern that journey. If you fight against them, you'll only hinder your progress on that road. The rules are there to make the journey easier, to make the journey more pleasant, to prepare you, to help you avoid conflict, injury, or even death. The rules that governed my earthly journeys through wilderness became a joy to follow. They weren't so at first, but as I learned, they became a joy. I learned the way of the mountain and the plains, and so I could live out in the mountains and in the plain. I drew strength and power from those rules. There's something very satisfying about being able to know that you are able to survive, regardless of where you are. There's something very satisfying about that. I remember the joy I received when finally it clicked and I could read sign to tell if I had broke trail and which animal had made that trail, which direction he was traveling, how long ago he had been there. There was a great joy in that. To know which plant would bring nourishment and where to find chamomile. So cleverly disguised as the name would imply, chamomile. I see my God's Torah through the lens of these experiences. God's Torah, his instructions, are not a burden. Neither are they a hindrance to joy or happiness. They illuminate the path that I want to travel. They are a light onto that path. They nourish my soul on that journey. They prepare me to meet the one who resides at the end of that road. They are the light in which I see light, a beacon in the darkness that if it is followed, will bring me to the source of that light, the face of God. Simchat Torah, the joy of God's Torah. Joy is where strength resides. Your attitude towards something is everything. I've lived probably a total of, it's probably pushing 15 years in tents. I loved it. I wanted to be in those tents. So it was joy. It It wasn't a burden, it was joyful. If I was forced to live in tents for 15 years, my joy might have been a little less. How we approach something is everything. But Simchat Torah, the joy of God's Torah, is not the end. It's a means toward an end. It is a path that leads to the face of God. Simchat Torah falls on the Levitical holy day of Shmini Atzeret, the 8th day, or the 8th assembly, literally. This moed, this appointed time, immediately follows the Feast of Sukkot. You hear people talk all the time about the 7 Jewish feasts. Well, they're not Jewish, they're not all feasts, and there's 9 of them. So, close. Very close. If you read Leviticus 23, it gives a litany of these days. The first day is Shabbat, not Passover. Then it goes to Passover, unleavened bread, first fruits, the Feast of Weeks. You've got the Feast of Trumpets, the Day of Atonement, the Feast of Tabernacles, and then there's another day, which has its own day. For 7 days you will live in Sukkot, in these booths, these tents. On the 8th day, Shmini Atzeret has its own sacrifice, its own rituals. Doesn't speak much about it or what it's about. Let's see if we can understand. Sukkot, when viewed from a prophetic paradigm, describes the time of the 1,000-year reign of the Lord. That's Zechariah 14, when all the kings of the earth bring their glory into Jerusalem, or they will get no rain. It is the Feast of Sukkot. Yet again, this time of Sukkot is not the end. It's not the goal. Sukkot is still within the realm of time. And although it is a slightly different realm than what we live in now, it is a realm where the spiritual and the mundane swirl together. It is, moreover, a time of transition from this world to the next. The Lord himself reigns. He is in, we can see him, but it's still within the realm of time. It has a specific beginning. It has an end, and it lasts 1,000 years. Eternity is just a bit longer. The earth is renewed during this time. Life is extended because during this time the adversary is locked up and we are not as tempted. And so without the sin, which is the wages of sin is death, without as much sin, life is extended. It still has, it's bracketed in time. What comes after Sukkot is more sublime. It's beyond anything that we can understand from the similes and the metaphors of the prophets. The prophets speak in similes and metaphors. And the reason is because they are describing things that are indescribable. And so they have to try to relate it to us in things that we have seen or heard or touched or tasted. The time period, that, if it's even proper to call it that, the time after Sukkot is a time when this heaven and this earth pass away, and a new heaven and a new earth descend from the lofty place where the seraphim hover. a place where we receive the rewards for following the path that is laid out by the Torah. You know, weeks are cyclic. You have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And then it starts again. You have 7 days, and then it starts. The 8th day is called the same as the first day, Sunday. It's very similar to a musical scale. There are 8 notes in a scale. But not all the notes are alike. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and nobody ends on G. Why? Because it doesn't resolve. People are tripping over themselves if you end on the G. It's a leading note. You have to finish that note. You have 7 notes, and then A, and you come back to the A. Now, if you add these sharps and flats, for those who are pickers of nit, we have 12 notes. But it doesn't work into the song if you A sharp, B flat. It just doesn't work. So we'll keep it with whole letters. The last note is similar, although not exactly the same as the first note. If you have a 440A, which is what everybody tunes to, the A above that at the end of the scale is what? 880. It's a multiple. It's the same note, but not really. It's an octave above. It's why my people view Shmini Atzeret, referencing the 8th day, in the same way they view the Garden of Eden, that when we leave this time, this fallen existence, we will return to a time like it was at first, only an octave above. It'll be even higher, more lofty, but it'll be the same character. The note will be, it'll be the same note, only an octave higher. It'll be the same day, only a little bit higher. Our sages tell us that the prophets in Tanakh spoke only of the Messianic kingdom, when the Messiah would reign for 1,000 years, Feast of Sukkot being fulfilled, of Olam Haba, or Shmini, or the world to come, of Shmini Atzeret, that 8th day that represents it. Of that time no man has seen. Yet in the New Covenant, Mashiach gave one of his disciples a vision of what comes after his kingdom here on earth. And it's rather glorious. The day that exists an octave above. If you want to, close your eyes and bask in the light of a montage from the book of Revelation, chapter 21 and chapter 22. Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth passed away, and there was no longer any sea within it. And I saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down out of the heaven from God, made ready as a bride adorned for her husband. And I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, "Behold, the tabernacle, the sukkah of God is among men, and he will dwell amongst them, and they shall be his people, and God himself will be among them. And he will wipe away every tear from their eyes, and there will no longer be any death. There will no longer be any mourning or crying or pain. The first things have passed away." And he who sat on the throne said, "Behold, I am making all things new." And he said, "Write, for these words are faithful and true." Then he said to me, "It is done. I am the Aleph and the Top, the beginning and the end. I will give to the one who thirsts from the spring of water of life without cost. He who overcomes will inherit these things, and I will be his God, and he will be my son. And he carried me away in the Spirit to a great and high mountain, and showed me the holy city, Jerusalem, coming down out of the heavens, from God, having the glory of God. Then he showed me a river of the water of life, clear as crystal, coming from the throne of God and of the Lamb. In the middle of its street, and on either side of the river, was the tree of life, bearing 12 kinds of fruit, yielding its fruit every month, and the leaves of the trees were for the healing of the nations. And there will be no longer any curse. The curse that was there when we were expelled from the garden will be gone. And the throne of God and of the Lamb will be in it, and his bondservants will serve him, and they will see his face. And his name will be in their foreheads. He describes the end of the journey here, when finally all of those miles traveled, all of those places that my soul sought to wander, finally come to a place of rest. And I behold the face of God, overwhelming. My soul quivers, and they will behold his face. Shmini Atzeret is a moment when Olam Hazeh, this world, ends. And with a single step, in the passing of a single moment, we leave time and enter eternity. It is the day we behold the face of God. Blessed is he who heeds the words of this prophecy and follows a path that leads to this mountaintop. For there he will find rest for his soul and peace. There he will find Mikor Chaim, the very fountainhead, the source of all that is luminescent. Father, in Yeshua's name, we long for that moment when we can behold your face in its fullness, when we can bask in the light of your presence and find the peace and the rest that our souls pant after. Even so, Lord, come quickly. For the Spirit and the bride say, come. In Yeshua's name, amen. Well, while I'm waiting for the musicians, Yeshua obviously spoke Ivrit, Hebrew, to his disciples. And one of these days, perhaps I will speak on it again. I've done this in the past, but the Aleph and the Tav represent a Hebrew word that actually has no meaning. It has a pronunciation, it means et, or it's pronounced et, but it really has no meaning. It's not a word per se. What it is a connection. It's a way of connecting a definite article with an action. For instance, if I wanted to believe in a God, I would not need the Aleph and the Tav. But if I wanted to believe, emunah, or have faith in the God, I would have to insert the Aleph and the Tav. And really, that's what Yeshua is speaking about there. He is connecting the beginning and the end. He is that connecting word, the Aleph and the Tav, between believing, between man and God. He has always been that point of connection. If you read it in John chapter 1, verse 51, he was the ladder in Jacob's dream. You will see the angels of God ascending and descending. Olim v'yodim bo, on the Son of Man. He connects himself. He has always connected himself and has always been the connection between heaven and earth. It is a most joyous piece of information.